As we've been talking in terms of base metals as well as safe havens like Goldco, but let's just focus in terms of where crude is concerned. Overall, if you see in terms of crude performance as well, yesterday's session we did see investors who went ahead and took profits, and this was, if you see in terms of losses as well, those were limited, but this was on the back of the continued efforts that we've seen from OPEC as well as the allies to curb supplies. Vijay, coming to you, what's your take in terms of crude prices from here on?
Hiral, before coming to the studio, I was going back in time and kind of flagging off the dates on which I was in your studio talking about crude, and I've been persistently bullish about crude, as you would know. Now, the first time I came was September, and crude was $52. Consistently, in each interview that I have been appearing here, crude has been higher and higher. Sure enough, it's been a rough ride, but it's been 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Look at what happened 2 or 3 days ago. Crude sank to $61, bounced promptly back to $63, $64, $65. Now, the primary reason why I have been consistently bullish about crude is the Saudi Aramco IPO, and the IPO ticket size is only getting bigger and bigger. Earlier, we were expecting an IPO size of $106 billion. Now, we are hearing about $200 to $250 billion in the IPO size. If this IPO is to succeed, which the Saudis are desperate to do, crude has nowhere to go but up. Will WTI cross 70? My guess, yes.
Right, so WTI above 70 is something that could be a possibility on the back of the Saudi Aramco IPO also, as Vijay was talking. But overall as well, currently if you go to see Saudi plans for OPEC as well as the Russian-led production curbs that were introduced in 2017, the talks are that yes, they should be extended into 2019, and this is mainly to tighten the market going ahead. With that, you have the launch of China's yuan-denominated oil futures that will come in. Beyond that, the OPEC members also need to continue their coordination with Russia as well as the other non-OPEC or oil-producing countries in terms of where supply curbs are concerned for 2019. Prathamesh, with all of this said and done, what are levels that you are tracking? Because the expectation, across is that yes, the up move is expected to continue, but overall, what's the outlook now?
I think OPEC is really doing its bit, and the compliance seems to be very high as far as OPEC nations goes with regards to capping its oil output, and it is clearly reflected in the price. But I'm a little bit concerned on the production that is coming from US. I think 10.5 million barrels, which is very close to Russia as well as Saudi being there on the same plate, wherein US is almost producing close to 11 million barrels per day, is something which creates a cause of concern for oil prices. I think maximum possible thing from here on from 15 days or a month perspective would be around 69 for WTI is what we're looking at. But I'm not immediately very highly bullish on this particular counter. I think the increase in production is something which would possibly pull down prices back again towards 60 mark. So I'm not so bullish. But immediate near term, I would play for a moment of $2.
Right. So that's the trade that we need to look at in terms of where crude is concerned. The expectation is, yes, that we could see the upside that could continue. And one of the major triggers that will come in over here is the Saudi Aramco IPO, which Saudi Arabia has been looking at pretty strongly. But staying with the metal space, one point that I need to touch over here is in terms of MCX, where they're looking to start trading in brass futures from next week. And they are looking to provide a benchmark price as well and give a hedging tool to the industry over this. Vijay, what are your thoughts in terms of where brass goes? In comparison to the other, base metals, do you think it will, find the same level of trading and volumes that we've seen in the other base metals?
Well, Hiral, I would, by choice, remain optimistic on the success of launching the brass futures, because it is a kind of a component that goes very heavily into the industry in India by itself. So India Inc., if it is serious about hedging its bets and kind of taking unidirectional calls, my guess should be that they should hypothetically participate wholeheartedly. But then time alone will tell. We've seen the case of aviation turbine fuel, we've seen furnace oil, we've seen carbon emission reduction certificates, etc., which were very exciting products which were launched but aren't seen today. So I, by my nature, would be optimistic that brass should take off well, but I would give it at least 3 to 6 months time, wait and watch before participate in them either.
Right, so that's in terms of brass futures that would be introduced next week as well. But moving from the metal space and commodity space, let's have a look at how the currency markets have panned out. Prathmesh, I'll come to you on this one. What's the indication that you're getting in terms of where the dollar pair goes? Because we've seen some bit of losses that have come in. If you see the dollar yen pair as well, again yen has moved higher. What do you make of it?
I think it's all to do with what's happening in the US and simultaneously the other currencies. I think the trade war is something which is really inciting into all the other asset classes. So I would probably be a silent investor or trader as far as currency market goes, because I need to really see what's really solution comes out from the entire scene of trade wars, and let the situation stabilize, and then we see particularly where the dollar index headed and where the other currencies are headed. But if you're looking for immediate near term, I think I would play safe and just to wait and watch as far as currency play concerned. But coming back to USD and IR per se, I think it is moving in the range of 64.7 on the lower side and 65.2 on the higher side. I would particularly play this range as far as the spot goes, and unless and until this range breaks, it would be a decisive scenario which would be decided by what factors come in from India as well as what factors come in from US.
Right. And what is the level that one could be watching out for on the yen as well? Because it has already hit a 17-month high, and we've seen levels of almost 104 over there. Do you think the pressure could continue?
Yes, I think there is a little bit of pressure out there. I think possibly it would move towards 102, 101, so which is something which is very uncertain. And I think and this uncertain scenario is something which really pans out how trade war moves from here on. So I think it is totally an uncertain scenario where the currencies are headed.
Right. So the trade war is of utmost importance here. Completely out of time, but Vijay, one last question that I want to ask you over here is that we are talking of the trade war. A lot of comments that we've heard from Trump in terms of North Korea. Beyond that, we heard about comments in terms of where the trade war with US goes. We have seen some impositions come on aluminium as well, and now it's with China. What is the sense that we are picking up over here? Because do you think that the comments that we are hearing from Trump, anything that could percolate into an action that could be taken, which could result in a big negative for the markets?
No, I don't think so, Hiral. Let's look at what Trump did with North Korea. If at all there was any serious threat of war, the first thing I, as a commodity trader, would watch would be food price futures, typically grains, soya oil, wheat,
right.
and edible oils, etc. All these markets were absolutely calm, which means they knew there was no war happening. It was saber rattling. It was rhetoric. My guess is President Donald Trump is doing the same thing where trade wars are concerned, as he was doing with somewhat of an expectation of a military war with North Korea. He'll force the other guy to come to the negotiating table without having to fire a bullet.